Welcome back to Attacking Third, friends. Okay, let's talk about the FIFA Women's Champions Cup. Gotham lost 1-0 to a late goal against Corinthians, and Arsenal absolutely dominated over Osfar 6-0. I mean, both of these games were interesting. Gotham coming in before preseason to play this match, and Arsenal in the midst of their season in really good form absolutely dominated Osfar. But looking at this, let's start with Gotham. How much can we actually rate Gotham from this game? I mean, I think there's a lot of panic after the game, even in our comments here live on YouTube. People are really stressed about what this means for the team, but should we be stressed?
I don't think it means a lot. I mean, I get it. Look, I will say first and foremost, this is what's so amazing about the Champions Club. That's what it's called, right?
I think just say a lot of words together.
Yeah, you know what? Just say a lot of Champions Cup challenge.
I say the wrong thing every time. Women's Champions Cup.
Yeah, there you go.
Cool.
Thanks, Audrey.
One of the after all of the Ballon d'Or chat about it being very European focused, I think this is why the Women's Champions Cup is so important, right? It sees football from a more global perspective, and we were all looking for the Gotham Arsenal matchup of who's the better team across WSL and NWSL, and then you can't sleep on Corinthians but so this is what is so amazing about this competition. You're looking at football from a more global perspective and really highlighting incredible clubs with incredible players. I would say, and I would ask you guys as well, how much did you look at preseason results and put an importance on it as a player?
Not a lot.
No.
I think you're trying to take out performances over results.
It's so hard because there is so much financial gain from this tournament, and that's what's actually I feel for the likes of the players that are in preseason, because they are not at their best, and this will continue to be the argument of how do you make this actually the most fair tournament, because I think it's been so important to have it. But I feel for the teams in the preseason because they are not. I remember playing games. It's awful playing games in preseason, especially. I never played a competitive one that I was trying to win a huge sum for my club. So in that respect, I wouldn't be overly worried about performance. I still think Gotham have got so many gears to go up. They were, it's not the Gotham we usually are used to seeing from last season. So I wasn't overly worried, if I'm honest, but then I wasn't surprised because preseason games are so hard, let alone trying to play a competitive game in that point of the calendar. But I do think this is also a conversation of the way women's football is going and the games within a calendar that is going to eventually be. Players don't stop. And that's when it can become a little bit scary with loading and that kind of conversation. But credit to Corinthians. Like you beat NWSL champions, and that's what we have to hype up. And I can't wait to see them play Arsenal at the weekend.
Yeah, I was going to say credit to Corinthians because watching that match, it almost as if we were watching Gotham from last season, where they were okay off of the ball. They were sitting back. They were defending. I mean, Gotham had 20 shots, 1 on target. They were okay with that. Defended life and limb, had a transition moment, and finished. That was Gotham last season that got them to a championship, and Gotham were more in possession. They were more direct. You could see what they were attempting, but it's preseason. But I also understand the frustration of playing in something like this where there is prize money on the line. Yeah. And so did a lot of the Gotham players. Jess Carter was quoted saying after the match, if she was happy with the Intercontinental event being staged in January during the offseason, she said, absolutely not. I don't think anyone is, but I don't really know when else to put it in, to be honest. I mean, you're asking players to cut their off-season short when everyone's just had competitions and Euros and traveling across the world. And then we come in after very limited time off and have to play again. I mean, fair, right, Jordan?
Yeah, it's totally fair. And even when you're thinking about those preseason games, like I think of this as Gotham's preseason. Jen, you would probably, if you're playing in a preseason game, you're playing what, half the game, probably, most likely, just to get your fitness back. And think about Gotham. They've now prepped to play these 2 games. And now how do you keep going up to then when preseason is, or season starts in a month and a half, like just planning their preseason and their fitness and they're trying to peak at the right times and the longevity of this league. It's difficult on the strength and conditioning and that data side of things too, to keep these players healthy. The takeaways I have from Gotham, you guys, is it's difficult to score goals. Like, when you're coming off of not playing together for a little, that's the hardest of the game. They had the ball. My biggest takeaway is still love Savannah McCaskill, and I can't
crushed it
in this team. We saw a glimpse of that, but her and Howell in the dynamic, like they're going to play like, I would say probably similar to what we saw Dali and McCaskill play, where it's like this dual 6-8 roles for both of them. And they can cover ground. They can play line breaking passes. They can score goals. This isn't going to, if I'm thinking of takeaways, it's not, I'm disappointed that they're not going to play Arsenal, because I think that would have been really good for eyeballs in general to see those teams play. But that's a big takeaway for me, is McCaskill is, even with this team and how many good players they have, she's going to add a different level.
Yeah, she was so good to watch. Although we won't get that, we do get to have her for the NWSL season with Gotham. She was standout to me in that game as well. Well, Jen, let's move on to your Gunners. They absolutely whooped the Moroccan champions, Osfar 6-0. And, this is a team that's in Champions League. They're in season. They're in form. They had these very poetic plays that resulted in, and buildups that resulted in goals. I mean, it was a joy to watch them. And, do you think that them going up against Corinthians, who's also in preseason, do you think that they'll have as easy of a time, or that Corinthians is able to put up a really good challenge against Arsenal?
No, I think Corinthians are still have the ability to put up a really good challenge. I think the comments were popping off because I know they are in preseason as well, Corinthians, and that was the balance that was set for their game against Gotham. But I still think, to beat Gotham, you still have to be a very, very top team. And I think we have to give them credit, and to the Brazilian league and how competitive it is. So no, I still think it's going to be a tough game. I think Arsenal will have the ultimate respect for them as well. I thought that, regardless of making a lot of rotations, which Arsenal did with Codina starting, a lot of midfielders, Kim Little on the bench, certain play,
crazy. There's subs that they brought in.
so many rotations, but for me it was a proper professional performance. I still think that they didn't rock up and think it was going to be an easy ride whatsoever, and I wholeheartedly think Sunday will be another way that they'll look at that as well. So be interesting to see what team they put out, but I definitely think they'll have the absolute respect for Corinthians. At the end of the day, you're playing in a final. You can't walk over anyone in a final, and I don't think it will be like that whatsoever. And they will 100% have been looking at that game thinking, okay, you just beat Gotham, all right? This is a big game coming up. So no, I'm actually really excited for it. I think it's a fun new format. Awesome to see other teams play against each other that we haven't seen before. I think it's what women's football needed, something new and exciting. So I'm really looking forward to this matchup.
Yeah, it'll be good. I'm curious because Corinthians gave up 66% possession. They gave up 21 shots from Gotham. You're not going to do that against Arsenal and leave as the champion. So what little adaptations are we going to see from them? Because they're going to have to defend really well, as we saw them do. But how are they going to be able to punish this Arsenal team? Find those moments where they are maybe a little too stretched, that they can expose them like they did in transition against Gotham. But I think that's the part that kind of worries me about Corinthians going into this game, is how much they just gave up against Gotham, who weren't clinical. Well, Arsenal right now is clinical, and they will put you away.
I think another thing to know is at the Emirates. This will feel like an away game and a complete comfort zone home game for the Arsenal, and I think that's quite. I can't think of a last final. Finals aren't meant to be played; they're meant to be neutral ground. So I was quite surprised to see that at the Emirates, and obviously now Arsenal will be in the final. So that's a huge boost for Arsenal, knowing that you can go out, walk out into a final in front of your home fans. You are familiar with absolutely everything. Your match day will look exactly like a home game. So a huge benefit for the Arsenal.
I will say the Brazilian fans traveled.
They did.
They're going to have their own section at the Emirates. They rallied. They were loud. They are everywhere. So I think this is going to be a really good game. We cannot wait. Make sure you tune in CBS on Sunday. We will be there covering both of the matches.